So hello and welcome to INTERGEO TV. Today we are joined by Pete Kelsey, a real expert in reality capture and digital twin technology, and he's owner of VCTO Labs and a driving force behind one of the most ambitious reality capture projects out there. A real stunning 3D model of the legendary Alcatraz Island. So Pete and a whole team of experts have been working there in the heart of this really iconic location, working around the clock to bring its history to digital life, because they created a real interesting digital twin there. So we're diving into this massive 3D project they created and how it was captured, what they used and why they did this and what challenges they were facing so along the way. So get ready for some, I think, really eye-opening insights into the future of the digital surveying we're talking about. And I think he has some really best practices straight from the front lines of innovation for us. So, hello, Pete. This is Germany calling, INTERGEO 2025. How are you doing?
I'm great, Denise. Thanks for having me. I've been looking forward to this.
So, where are you joining us from?
I am coming to you from my home office in Seattle, Washington, in the U.S.
Oh, hi there. Cool. So, Pete, did I forget to introduce you correct? So, would you like to tell us a bit more about your professional background? And so, of course, also the why. So what did you initially bring you into this special project? Just bring us a bit deeper into this project and into your person, please.
Sure. I guess my career, one way to describe it is I've spent over 30 years chasing sparkly objects, but trying to use technology to make either an old story new, a new story better, or to engage a bigger and broader audience. And so my background was all civil engineering and land surveying, and I worked in civil engineering firms for a while. I had my own services company for a while. I did a long stretch at Autodesk. A long time ago, I was the worldwide technical evangelist for civil products. Anyway, all of that led me to reality capture maybe 20 years ago. And I've just never looked back, because right away I knew that this was the ultimate, literally the ultimate tool set for providing context. And, what's more valuable than context? I mean, it's understanding. I've been in places around the world and not spoken the same language, and show somebody a point cloud or a mesh, and right away they're with you, right? Oh, I know what that is. So how do you, right away I knew you can't put a price on that. It's like reality data to me is the ultimate currency. So in my pursuit of the next sort of sparkly object, great story, I started with a team of others, started really focusing on using a really high profile, special, strategic, whatever the adjective is, project to change the dynamic from sales or marketing or whatever it is to you have to come with us. This is going to be incredible. So, the message is join us, because you're going to have an experience just because capture is so immersive. So once that hook was set with me, I've never looked back, and Alcatraz has just been, another fabulous example of what I'm what I'm trying to describe.
Hmm. Pete, and right now we're diving into this iconic project we all can see in the media right now. We just talked about CNN, grabbed that topic, and yeah, you can find it everywhere right now around the globe. And you see that very fantastic pictures of the reality data that you captured and you put it into a digital twin, and it's like diving, walking, flying through Alcatraz. And
Yeah.
could you share could you share the moment with us you first stepped onto the island, and then when was the moment when you realized how special this project would be?
That's actually an easy answer. It was really about the team. I mean, because this was an absolutely unique gathering of talent, of people, and technology. Because, I knew at the outset that there was no one product or sensor or piece of software that could accomplish what needed to be accomplished, which was scanning and the entire island inside and out, every space. Um, so when the first thing that comes to mind is when I reached out to the team members and said, "Look, this is all essentially nonprofit. No money is going to change hands. I'm not getting paid. You're not going to get paid, but gosh, would you please come? Because I'm sure that this is going to, at some point, there's going to be a really bright light shined on this project." And fortunately, yeah, the last 24 hours have been extraordinary. Excuse me. So that was the moment when no one, everyone I invited said yes. How can we help? When do you want us there? It was that was the first indicator that, wow, we're onto something really special here, really unique here. Because a lot of these vendors might, in their day to day, see some of the other team members as competitors. And so I'm sure in the dark halls of corporate headquarters somewhere, there were sales and marketing people saying, no, 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 you can't do that. But they came anyway. And
Okay.
we were ultimately successful. We pulled it off, and everybody got along. We did extraordinary work, and at the end of that, to answer your question, bringing reality capture to, I mean, to the world, to a huge audience. So it's really exceeded my expectations. So I just, more than anything, just happy for the team, grateful they all showed up, and relieved that what I told them, what I hoped would happen, is happening.
Wow. So you had a team of volunteers, professionals, but you were explorers, kind of explorers there.
Yep,
You
yep,
worked for nothing then, just for
yep.
the adventure and for, yeah, kind of a reputation that is actually coming in. And so when it started, how did you decide which kind of tools or sensors or
Mm.
workflows to use? And how did you choose which kind of combination would be powerful, or was it just trial and error?
Well, there was a fair bit of planning. I mean, I have no problem with admitting that there's always a little bit of both, because uh, what did Eisenhower say? Plans are nothing, planning is everything. And that is certainly true when you deploy out in the field to try to pull something like this off. So we planned and planned and planned. So the first thing that comes, well, there were a number of challenges which led to the answer to your question. One is the time frame. How much time do we have to do this? We were given 3 weeks. Okay, that's really important. So we have 3 weeks to scan every single space that we can access on Alcatraz. Okay. Um, Level of detail. Now, fortunately, the level of detail really didn't come up as a requirement, but it's very common in the reality capture service provider world. It's one of the first questions you ask the client is level of detail. Are we talking microns or meters? Because that will determine the tools we use, how long it's going to take, how much it's going to cost, et cetera. So there was also an airborne component, so we knew we were going to be using drones. Sorry, to get back to, so with all that as sort of a preamble, I knew that terrestrial lasers, whereas SLAM scanning is so quick just because the scanner is mobile. So right away, I leaned into SLAM scanning as the way to go. Now, we still did a little bit of terrestrial scanning with the folks from Regal, which was great. But so SLAM was a huge part based on the time we had and the level of detail requirement. And we had 2 hover maps, which I'm love the hover maps just because they're so versatile. But if there's a gold medal winner, it was the hover maps, because the hover maps are what made getting all the interior done in 3 weeks possible.
Okay, well, and how many people or companies worked there within these 3 weeks?
Yeah, I actually have a list, and because it's so long, I can't remember.
Okay,
But
so more than 10.
oh yeah, probably 20, maybe
Wow.
25. And back to another challenge. The other thing I knew that when they said 3 weeks, the only way to and from Alcatraz is on a ferry. Well, the
Mm-hmm.
first ferry, which is the employee boat, is 8:30 in the morning, something like that, and the last boat that leaves the island is at 4:30. And that was a big red flag for me. It's like there's no way I can be dependent on the ferry schedule and get this done in 3 weeks. So I asked, can we stay on the island? And they said, yes, but you're going to have to stay in cells.
We're spending the nights on Alcatraz
Yeah,
in the
yeah.
cells.
It was
Oh my God.
okay. I have no problem admitting this either. That appealed to the inner 9-year-old in me like you can't believe. It was such that brought the sort of the adventure meter up to, beyond 10. It was fun and it was an adventure, but it began, as I say, because we needed to be able to work around the clock. So it
Yeah,
wasn't
okay.
just, hey, Pete and team want to, have an adventure. No, it was about getting the work done in the time we had. But yeah, sleeping in cells on Alcatraz in D block for 3 weeks was something you won't forget.
I really believe that. I think just sleeping in such an abandoned prison with such a heavy past and all those memories there, and yeah, and just 3 weeks is a really long time. So you really had time to discover, yeah, every detail, every part of the island, even if
Yeah.
the is special escape history that happened
Yes.
there as well.
Yeah. Yeah. That was, of personal interest to all of us, when we're scanning the whole place. We all knew that, wow, the 1962 escape, we're going to scan all of that too, right? Well, of course, it's part of the prison. So yeah, we may have spent some extra time on that bit, but just because of the historical relevance, because everybody knows about it, and And frankly, it's still an open case with the United States Marshal Service. I mean, the FBI closed the case, but the Marshals, it's still open. So who knows? Maybe the data might serve a purpose we didn't expect into investigating how they got out and, are they alive and, somewhere. Who knows? But
Maybe they will
yeah,
discover something new then.
yeah. Well, and that's such a great point because that touches on what's truly fun about this type of work is just because of the nature of reality data, you're going to be able to have points of view that no one has seen in 100 years, 200 years. Because this is one of those surprises for me of about Alcatraz is that the layers of history, starting with Native Americans,
Mhm.
10,000 years ago to Civil War, the gold rush here in the United States. Before it was the famous federal penitentiary, it was a military prison. It just goes on and on and on. And in the scan data, you can see evidence of all of this. And
Mhm.
so that's been really fun as well to see, scientists and academics get excited about it because
Mhm.
it started, well, I should welcome to the noise in my head. It was such an amazing project and took on so many different facets or tentacles. It's hard to stay focused. Um, but the validation that came from a couple of the park historians, just means the world to us. Because that's like, wow, you guys, this is good. This is important. This isn't just pretty pictures and pretty models. This is actual scientific data that can be repurposed in an infinite, number of ways.
Mhm. So then, Pete, when you use those kind of new trends like the hover maps or the drones or just maybe also some new AI-driven data processings and so on, how did these techniques, innovations, applications change the way that you were working with? Um, just is everyone in this field well prepared, or yeah, how was that part of the work, the
Um,
project?
as I touched on, fortunately, it was the only word I can think of is easy, because I was concerned about the human element. Some of these vendors being competitors. And is everybody going to get along? Is everybody going to be open about the workflow and about how things work? And, maybe raising their hand and saying, I think what I have here is the solution to that particular space or that room or whatever. It was it was an extraordinary collaborative effort. I mean, extraordinary. There were no problems. There wasn't any, don't look at what I'm doing. It was all above board. Um, and, you know, uh, we learned some things too. So selfishly, that was most welcome. Well, how do these different sensors interact? And how do different types of reality data interact? Is it even possible? you know? And again, no one, no, a better way to say it is everyone was here, I'll show you. Check this out. Watch this. This is great. So, more often than not, when we were in the office, because once we started scanning, someone was always coming in and unloading data, and we were post processing in real time on this amazing workstation from AMD. Um, someone would say, "Hey, come over here, watch this, check this out, look what I just did," and half of us would go, "Whoa, wait, how did you do that? Do that again." So it became this knowledge exchange. which, I always hoped for. I didn't want to count on. I wasn't sure I could expect. But again, it's just hat tip to the team, and it's the real secret sauce about why we're having this conversation and why the media's picked up on it, and it's because of this unique collection of talent and technology.
Yeah, and it's great to hear that competitors just became together some explorers for knowledge and innovations, and that was the focus on it, and not just, okay, my company is working in this sector and I have this solution.
Yeah.
It's great just to listen to you and hear how it works when just creative, very smart and very intelligent people with very cool hardware and the smartest technology work together, and then something like this is happening.
Yeah. Yeah. And you remind me of something else. So, I've been working in this space for a long time, but I'm not an expert. I actually don't like that term because things change so fast in this space, whether it's hardware, software, both, workflows, whatever. We're always learning. There's always something will come across social media and go, wow, I got to go back to
Whoa.
school, or I got to reach out to that person and say, how did you do that? Whatever. Um, Geez, and I think I just lost my thought, but I knew I think everyone knew that, yeah, there's not one tool that is going to be able to solve all the problems that this project presents from field to finish. We're gonna have to sort of figure this out as we go and figure out what's the best fit for a sensor or what have you. And there were even surprises, like a great one. The LiDAR sensor we flew was from Phoenix LiDAR, and Phoenix just in conversation just said, hey, a lot of our scanners we use are as a result of a partnership with Regal. And they just called and said they're interested in coming. Could they come out? And who am I to say no? I said, well, we really don't have time for terrestrial laser scanning, but why not have them come? So they came out and brought two scanners that just blew my mind. A scanner that could get returns beyond 2.5 kilometers, over a mile. I mean, when they showed up and they said that, I'm like, show me. I don't believe, show me. And boy, did they show me. And it was amazing. And then a terrestrial scanner that could do scans every 30 seconds. I'm like, whoa. So a great example of, I'm pretty good at what I do, but I don't know everything about every sensor so again, team, bring in the experts, because collectively we're unmatched. And somebody could say, I think I have an idea. And that, again, that's why we're having this conversation. That's why it worked, frankly.
Absolutely. So, Pete, you mentioned one unexpected challenge that was sleeping on the island because the ferry was too early for the departure and so on. So, was there any other unexpected challenge you and your team had to solve? Just like, what about electricity or, I don't know, data connection or services or anything else? Or just everything fantastic? No, I don't think so.
Another miracle, actually. By the first or the second day, once we started post-processing, we realized that the Wi-Fi on the island was not going to work for the volume, the terabytes of data we were generating, meaning to upload all that data and use some cloud-based post-processing solution. We knew right away we need to be able to post-process this data on site locally. And that just made sense anyway, because it's sort of surveying 101. You don't want to do the data capture phase, go back to the office, and then realize you've forgotten something, right? So to make sure we got it all, to make sure the data is correct before we leave, again, we're going to have to post-process locally. And
Well,
that's when one of the team members, my buddy John with PCL, said, "Hey, I've got a friend at AMD." And the next morning, this 100-pound box shows up from AMD with this 96 core Threadripper Pro, half a terabyte of RAM, unbelievable workstation that completely changed the project. We
okay.
started post processing, and that thing was cranking out heat. It kept us all warm in a very cold office. It was amazing. So that was again the best laid plans. Ah, right. Wi-Fi is terrible. We're gonna have to do this locally. What are we gonna do? One of the team members says, "I have an idea," and it was a miracle. And again,
Well,
another one of the key components why this project was successful. Um,
well,
Permission access, sleeping in cells, being handed the keys, being trusted with the keys to Alcatraz. They handed me the keys and they said, "Look, don't do anything stupid and don't get hurt. And here you go." And so we could scan around the clock. That was huge. And
well.
then the AMD Threadripper based workstation was just, those are the three reasons that this project worked.
Well.
Absolutely.
Wow. Well, Pete, so after bringing Alcatraz to digital life, what's on the horizon for you next? So, any other reality capture projects, or what are you doing now? Or is it still post processing of the details from Alcatraz?
Um, we're still, it's another part of reality capture that I absolutely love is that when, once the client sees the data, then the fun starts. Then the questions, and it's always the same question. Well, wow, what else could we do with this data? And then I just heard from a friend of mine just the other day. He said, the better question is, what couldn't you do with the data?
Well,
Because the answer is, what can you do? Anything you want. It's
mhm.
just software. So, in terms of what's going on in real time, with the Alcatraz data, you name it. A virtual national park for
Well,
virtual tourism. What about the people who can't physically get to Alcatraz,
well,
or the people who can come to Alcatraz, but they can't go behind the velvet ropes into the dark, dangerous places that nobody gets to see? Reality data can make that happen.
well,
So AR, VR, XR, that whole movement, that's being kicked around, discussed. Um, I think it's just a matter of time before Hollywood comes calling
yeah, this
because,
was I was thinking about. I think there will be a
yes,
movie soon about. I mean, they have all the data right now, and they really can dive into that story.
exactly. So I'm sure there's going to be probably some entertainment aspect to this because, if I'm a studio, you don't hey, oh my God, all this data exists. We don't have to go to Alcatraz to film. We could green screen it all in a secure environment of a studio and save tens, if not hundreds of millions of dollars. So if and when anybody wants to make the next Alcatraz movie, I'm sure the Park Service's phone is going to ring. Um,
Mhm.
in terms of what's next for me, I'm working on a few things. Sadly, I'm bound by a lot of NDAs, but I'm a history nut. I love, that's why Alcatraz was so great for me personally. Uh, so more historic preservation stuff is always in the works, which I absolutely love. Some very large strategic AEC focused projects
Mhm.
being discussed. I've been doing a lot of work in television. on the entertainment side, just because reality data, as we talked about, is the perfect medium for providing understanding, context. I wish I could be more specific than that, but some of it's right up there with Alcatraz. We've got some great stories that we hope are going to be better.
Wow, cool. So maybe I can just listen to another story from you from, I don't know, the pyramids from Egypt, or if there are real such huge chambers below them or not. So there are so many miracles on Earth we want to know.
Yeah, yeah. And yeah, that's another way that this data can be repurposed is hopefully it can be used to answer questions, right?
Yeah.
Wow, what the pyramids thing. I mean, there's so many places I want to go. My gosh, pick a historic site, right? The Tower of
Hmm.
London, Machu Picchu, the Taj Mahal. I mean, Angkor
Yeah.
Wat. If my phone
Machu
rings and
Picchu, absolutely. We still do
yeah,
not really know. We really need data from Machu Picchu because there are so many stories around that fascinating place, and this would really be interesting.
yeah, I totally agree. And it would bring this technology to just a huge audience, which I think
Yeah,
is really important for all of us.
yeah. So would you just say that reality capturing is really that kind of technology that excites you completely?
Oh, yes. Yep. Yep. The first time I saw this, uh, I knew exactly what I wanted to do with the rest of my career. The rest of the time I'm alive, yeah, it will grab onto you and not let go.
Thank you very much. It was so interesting talking with you about this fascinating project, Alcatraz. And yeah, hope to hear from you soon. And I think you will join INTERGEO this year. So we will see you in October in Frankfurt on stage. I'm really looking forward to. And thank you very much for joining this special expert talk here on INTERGEO TV.
Yeah. Thanks so much, Denise. It's been my pleasure.